All right, we're about to dive into a question that sounds like it belongs in a philosophy class, but our legal system, well, it has some surprisingly concrete and honestly pretty strange answers.
So can you? Can you really own a cloud? It just sounds absurd, right? But what if owning it means something a little different than, putting a fence around it? What if it means controlling it?
Because believe it or not, that's exactly what happened. During the Vietnam War, this whole philosophical question became a very real, very concrete military objective. And that brings us to our first story. It's about a top-secret military program with a deceptively cartoonish name, Operation Popeye. But this had nothing to do with spinach. It was about weaponizing the actual sky. The plan was just audacious. The US military would fly missions over Vietnam with the specific goal of making it rain. They used this technique called cloud seeding, where they disperse chemicals into monsoon clouds to trigger and intensify rainfall. The hope was to wash out enemy supply routes and just completely disrupt their operations.
And here's the part that is just wild. It worked. According to the declassified reports, Operation Popeye was successful enough to extend the monsoon season by an estimated, get this, 30% in certain areas. They didn't just make it rain, they were actually changing the seasons.
You can imagine when this program was finally revealed, it sent absolute shockwaves to the international community. It raised this terrifying new question. I mean, if you can weaponize a cloud, what else in nature can become a tool of war? This basically forced the world to come up with some new rules.
And this led to a really direct and profound change in international law. In 1977, the Geneva Conventions were updated to outlaw environmental modification as a weapon. The world essentially drew a line in the sand. You cannot weaponize the weather.
Now, the laws of war are full of these fascinating ideas about fairness and deception. One of the most serious war crimes is something called perfidy. It's basically when you exploit the rules of fairness to deceive the enemy, like raising a white flag of surrender just to open fire. The law absolutely forbids this kind of lie to maintain some kind of honor in a conflict. So just keep that idea in your back pocket for a second. A lie that the law refuses to protect.
Because now we're going to make a hard pivot. We are leaving the battlefield and stepping into the courtroom, where the law's relationship with the truth gets complicated. What happens when the law decides that some things are actually more important than the absolute truth?
This is where it gets really, really interesting. On one hand, you have perfidy, where the law punishes a lie to uphold fairness. But then, on the other hand, you have something called spousal privilege, which basically says you can't be forced to testify against your spouse.
So the crucial point here is that the law makes a deliberate choice. It decides that the sanctity of a marriage, that bond of love and trust, is so fundamental to society that it's worth protecting, even if it means a critical secret stays hidden, even if the whole truth doesn't come out in court. It protects a kind of privacy, maybe even a lie by omission, all in the name of a human relationship. Okay, so we've gone from weaponized clouds to marital secrets. Our final story takes an even stranger turn. We're moving from the human to the non-human, and it's all because one animal got a little too curious.
Seriously, I'm not setting up a joke here. A crested macaque in Indonesia picked up a photographer's camera and, just by sheer chance, snapped a perfectly composed, crystal-clear selfie.
The photo, of course, went viral, and that's when things got legally complicated. An animal rights organization filed a lawsuit, not for the photographer, but on behalf of the monkey. Their argument was pretty simple. The monkey pressed the button. The monkey is the creator. Therefore, the monkey should own the copyright and any money that comes from it.
The court case went all the way up the legal ladder. And in the end, the U.S. Copyright Office issued a definitive ruling. They stated that to qualify for copyright protection, a work has to be created by a human being. Period.
So, why? Well, the logic breaks down pretty much like this. Ownership is a legal right. To have rights, you need legal standing as a person. The courts and the law decided that an animal is not a legal person, and therefore, a monkey can't own anything, whether it's a banana or the copyright to its own selfie. So, where does all this leave us? We've explored three completely different scenarios: a weaponized cloud, a legal secret, and a monkey selfie. What on earth could they all have in common? We started with a cloud. Humans decided it was illegal to own it as a weapon, not because nature has some inherent rights, but because it was way too dangerous for other humans.